Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Darcy's Misadventures with Mixed Media, and I'm here today with another dephemerember. Today's prompt is modern meets vintage. I really struggled with this prompt because junk journals basically are modern meets vintage. You know, we're taking our modern junk mail and our modern stuff, mixing it with vintage. Printables are a mix of modern meets vintage. You know, we've got some public domain images that are vintage. For example, you print it and that's modern. Also, I've got jelly plate prints in the background of these digitals with some current photographs of vintage items and public domain images that are vintage. So this is actually probably a good example of modern meets vintage because it's kind of a modern digital kit with, why are these all upside down? with a vintage vibe, you know, especially since it's called so yeah. And also, you know, taking my current jelly prints that I've made now, which feel modern even though, you know, they're kind of old worldly because that's the look we like, mixing them with bits of vintage ephemera, and vintage photos, also mixing it with some current art that people have made. So I think digitals are a great example of modern meets vintage. Also, masterboards. The earliest masterboard that I could find online was 2011, and someone was doing it for cards, and then it regained some more popularity with junk journaling. I'm not sure when originally people started using it for junk journaling. I mean, the earliest video I could find on YouTube was 3 years ago. And the only mention of somebody else doing it was somebody mentioned Marguerite Miller. And of course, there's different ways to do a masterboard. What is a masterboard? A masterboard is basically a larger piece of paper. It could be like in a notebook like this, or it could be on, you know, junk mail or anything like that. And you just collage on it. And then after you've made your collage, you cut it down to make ephemera. Whether you make pockets, journal tags, journal cards, even journal pages. I've done larger collage pieces in order to make pages large enough to fit in a larger journal. So here's some examples of some masterboards that I've made. I've used vintage money from vintage playing games, gel plate prints, digitals, all kinds of things. Book page, music page. And then, you know, if I have like a notebook like this that has kind of like aged looking paper on one side, I like to use that. I don't have to back it. If it gets all bendy, you just put it under something flat for a while to flatten it out. Although I never did that with these, you could tell because it kind of flips up, but that's all right. And then nice thin pages to use for, you know, kind of doing both sides are the Medicare brochure thing, or if you're not retired, the things you get from your 401k. Those are nice, and you can just kind of keep them in the book till you're ready to use them. And there is no right way or wrong way to create a masterboard. Marguerite Miller used to, the way she does it, she prefers to like lay out her pieces and figure it all out. I'm a little more random. Shocker. I just kind of put stuff down. And the reason I like doing it in a book like this is because I like to just kind of pull out a piece, find a page it fits on, and then put it on. That way I'm not having to dig through my pieces, you know. Yeah, I went down several avenues with my brain, and I was just like, okay, let's see, there's tickets. Modern tickets are online, you know, on mobile devices, and vintage tickets were paper, or, you know, I looked up some pictures of modern lace versus vintage lace, but all it kept coming back to was that junk journaling already is modern meets vintage. And collaging with papers has been around for over 100 years. I think that Picasso made it popular in his time, which was the early 1900s, I think. And Collage masterboard seemed to be a more modern take on paper collage. So that is my modern meets vintage. Let me grab some papers real quick. Generally, when I'm making a masterboard, I'm sticking with like thinner papers. I don't really want to use cardstock. I save my cardstock my cardstock scraps to use in like clusters or on like as a pocket, you know. But mostly I use like the, you know, more bendy, lightweight paper in my masterboards. And people do it different ways. You could be random. You can have it be all kinds of shapes in all kinds of directions. You can rip, you can cut, you can ink. You don't have to ink. You can just start gluing and not worry about what's going to happen in the end. Because guess what? Even if like nothing matches, you can always come back with some gesso to push it to the background, add some stamping and some stenciling. But you don't have to. You can just glue paper together and you have a nice collage. And I think that you will see that it looks kind of cool when all is said and done to have a cohesive piece where, like, if you've been able to use the same papers throughout, it's even more cohesive. Like, maybe I could do an example of that. So I'll use this in a couple of places, which when it's cut down will end up being on at least 3 pieces, most likely. And then we can just go ahead and grab a nice neutral page. Okay, I'm not in love with the picture on the other side, so I don't mind ripping this up. Just getting some of the words. You don't have to trim it down to just the words. You can also have the line like that. That's an interesting part too. This is from Chatterbox, which is I think it's actually an antique. So I need to be careful and not let it get all stuck to the page because then it'll rip. I have one Chatterbox book that has like blue writing, and I just love that. I'm just like, oh, that's so fun. So I'm going to try to use maybe 2 or 3 of each type of paper. I try to start with larger pieces, and then if I want to come back later and add smaller pieces, which I sometimes will, even just to, you know, have it not be so busy where pieces are connecting. Let's see, what else do we have here? That's cardstock. Let's see, do we want... And gel prints are one of my favorite things to use. They do add some nice variety and texture and whatnot. Let me see if I can find some paper. Let me see if I can find a printable that kind of goes with that. You can even use book pages like this, which are kind of fun as just something different in the background. Like these spools, I think would be fun to add in here. And if you can get a piece like this and have any heads or bodies on it, then you don't have to worry about destroying anybody's, taking off anybody's body parts. No one likes when Santa loses an arm. And we like to tease Gail Agostinelli when she does it. It's just fun to do. And then also, let's see, music pages, tissue, which you might not want the tissue over this because that will show through, but the tissue over this is nicely, so tissue can go over other bits. And then there's digitals like this. Some nice grungy digitals that I have found and really like are Manu Design Studio. I think Louisa knows her, like, personally. And, oh, did you guys know that Manuela is actually Louisa's real name? She said it once in a video. I'm not sharing any secrets. But I always found that interesting. All right, maybe we'll go this way with this. Maybe. But now we're going to end up with a That's all right. We'll just put something across there. I hate when there's like little bits like that now I have to like figure out. But that's all right. It's not the end of the world. So, most people can use, some people can use pretty much any glue. Some people, it's going to depend on your climate, what glue works best for you. Sometimes I overlap a little bit and sometimes I don't. Depends what I'm doing. I've even used like the gel matte medium, and kind of like if I make a book cover, I'm likely to do like, you know, do the gel matte medium or Mod Podge or wet glue or something, and then put my pieces down and then also go over it like that. I did that when I had a piece that I made that was birds that I made for Maker's Creative Collab. So if you, I think it was for the birds, might be even what the hashtag was for that Maker's Creative Collab. I'm not totally sure. Music page is a nice neutral. I said digitals, right? Like anything. Like you could even use like pages from the yellow pages or the white, you know, the phone book. You can use anything that makes you happy, really. Anything that you like to look at will work. And anything that, you know, is thin enough to not bulk it up, you know, not make it... I mean, if you want to add the cardstocky pieces, you can. It's just going to not be as flexible, and it's going to maybe feel a little weird where it's thicker in some parts and not in others. Alright, I got a piece of that, so I kind of want a piece of another piece similar. Marbles might be nice. Like maybe right there. And yes, sometimes I have a straight edge with ripped edges. I'm okay with that. Some people are not okay with that. It's okay. You do you, boo. You do what makes you happy with your collages. Alright, so I think I was starting to say, I like to start with larger pieces like that. And then I might add some smaller pieces. Sometimes I just do the paper and then cut it down. Sometimes I will add other things like gesso and stamping. I like to do stamping and stenciling because it kind of brings it together. So if I only do one additional thing, that's most likely what it would be. So yeah, let's see. What else? Where do we want to go with this? That would work. Oh, and a lot of times I will take my digitals, especially if they're background pages or collage pages, and I'll print them smaller, which is what I did with these from, I believe these are all Manu Design Studio. Stop saying It's I don't know why I feel nervous. I mean, it's not like I've just started making videos. I've been making videos since 2019. I know a lot of you are new, so I guess I could probably say a little bit about myself. Oh, my name is Darcy. Ha! Hi, my name is Darcy. And I grew up in Massachusetts. See, when you're collaging, that's a nice time to just chat. In Southeast Massachusetts. And I moved to Northern Virginia when I graduated high school, mostly because my aunt and uncle lived down here. So I came down and lived with them for the first year, and I don't want to put that there, okay? What do you do when that happens? You just stick it to the next page. So I got a job with the government working for the Department of Defense, and worked there for about 5 years until I met my husband and got married, and I did the resign thing. There was a this is from one of Louise's, by the way, her bunny one. There was a oh, and then I was also gonna say you can take a book page and whatnot, throw some paint or gesso on there, stamp on there, and you know, especially if some of it still shows through, you got some fun collage paper doing that too. Okay, so yeah, I met my husband in so I moved down here in 1989, met my husband in 1992, got married in 1994, and then my first son was born in 1995. And I did the, there was like a, too many people. There was like a hiring freeze and whatnot, so they had like an early out option, so I did that. And so I got, you know, a little money when I stopped working by doing it that way. And let's see. So, and then, so I had Joel, and then in 1998 I had a miscarriage, and then in 2000 finally had my Nathan. And throughout the years I have done like some digital flyers or physical posters for like their PTA or for church. One of my favorite ones was one I did for this bingo night that we were having. And yeah, that was fun. Whoops. Yeah, this was not the best way to rip this out. There's probably better ways. That's all right. I'll even that out. So on the back, I could go ahead and back this with some writing paper now, but some of them might be pockets. So I might go ahead and back them as I know what's going to need to be backed. So this is a masterboard, and now we're going to cut it down into smaller pieces to put in the journal. So I will need a paper cutter for that. I prefer to have a paper cutter for that. I think this one's too small to go this way, but that's all right. All right, so we'll blind cut it. Some people like to know what their things are going to be before they start. I kind of guesstimate here. I need to put a new blade on my bigger cutter, and the other one is, I don't know where. Of course I don't. Why would I know where the other one is? So that's 5 inches. 5 by 3 is a nice size for some things. But also, how tall is this? That's like 5 1/4. Yeah, we'll do, and that's 5 1/4, and this is 5. So so I'm going to do 2 3/4 here. And then that side, fortunately, did not get cut off there, so that's good. Let's see. So yeah, I've done some stuff like that, you know, while the boys were in school. I homeschooled my boys from when my Nathan was in 2nd grade. I'm going to do this one 6 inches. And then, how wide is this? It's almost 6 inches, so just, I'm going to do one of them 3.5 inches because I want a larger one. I like to have bigger pieces. And this, I'm going to cut down to 3 inches. That'll be a small tag. And then I just need to even off the end of this. Yeah, my Nathan was diagnosed with Asperger's, and he was not doing so great in school, so I brought him home to homeschool him. And you know, he did better learning on his own. Part of it was, you know, once he learned it, he didn't think he had to do all the work to go into it. So he'd do really well on tests, but all his grades overall were terrible because he didn't want to do the work because he knew the information. You know how it be. Okay, so let's see. Here's one. Oh, I missed that spot. That's all right. Focal point might cover that anyway, so I'm not too worried. 2, 3, 4. I'd probably put it that way. All right, that one ended up pretty plain, but that's okay. 5, 6, 7, and 8. It's nice to have some variation of sizes in your things. Also, when Nathan was 5, he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So that was a challenge, you know. I'm sort of glad I brought him home because when he was first diagnosed, they had a nurse in the school, but now they don't always have a nurse in every school. And like, because my friend, my hairdresser, her son was just diagnosed, and she's just like, yeah, well, he's in preschool still, I think, and the nurses, there's not a nurse there, nobody else can administer the shots and whatnot. And so, yeah, I kind of do not regret bringing him home to homeschool. So, yeah. So, we might even just go super basic on this page and just add some ephemera. I don't know that I've got big enough pieces on here that and the colors go, that wasn't really on purpose, but I kind of was. I mean, I don't know. I just think I was knowing that this was going to be that kind of goes too. Yeah, let's see, we could put more than one pocket on here too. Now, if you want to put more than one pocket on a page, you do want to make sure that your opening is on top of the bottom of the other one. If I put this here, well, now I can't get in there anymore. Or I can get to the side if I wanted to. So yeah, you have to think about placement when you're adding your pockets and whatnot. So let's see, maybe we'll just add some pockets in some fun ways. Like this maybe. This could be a side tuck even. Have a tag stick in there. And then this could be either it could be a side tuck. That way something sticks out here. And this could be a little up pocket going up. That might be fun. Let's see, what was I saying? Oh, so yeah, doctors, blah, 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 blah. All right, so yeah, it's been a stressful, what's 23 minus 5? 18 years since Nathan was diagnosed with diabetes. And then when he was 18, he was diagnosed with Addison's disease, which generally you don't get a diagnosis for that, or usually people don't get that till they're around 30. So his pediatric endocrinologist was kind of shocked about that, to be honest. And she changed her protocol on how and when she checks for that now. So, you know, hopefully that helps somebody in the future because, you know, she changed how and when she looks for that. Because doctors don't always realize that, yes, they learn that it mostly gets diagnosed in their 30s. But if you go on a support group for that particular disease, you're going to find that there are people much younger who have it, whether it's secondary or primary, because Addison's disease, you either have primary Addison's disease where you have antibodies that kind of destroy the hormone, the whatever, you know, basically what Addison's disease is, an adrenal insufficiency. So his body stopped making cortisol, which you need to live. It's the response to stress, and if you don't have it, you definitely will not survive life. So we wanted him to survive life. So really glad that we didn't have to go years. Some people go years before they figure out a diagnosis. And he did have signs and symptoms. I just thought he was just tired all the time. He had these dark circles under his eyes and whatnot. But yeah, that wasn't it. All right, that's kind of fun. I like that I used the I Spy book on there. Yeah, pro tip: I Spy books are awesome for junk journals. They have fun things to look at, and they make great envelopes. If you're making envelopes, pockets, anything, you don't even have to use them in a collage. You can use them by themselves. So yeah, so let's see, he was 18, so that was 2018. And then when he finished school, I was kind of like, okay, what do I do in my life now? And so I started reading The Artist's Way. Got to about chapter 8 when I found mixed media, and that was I was like, oh, that's it. I'm loving playing with the things and doing the things. I love this. And then my aunt sent me a folio, which I need to find so I could take some pictures of it for my blog, and told me about junk journaling and said, you know, check out Gail Agostinelli and whatnot. And so I did, and then I found, and I'd already been watching Martha, Miami Small Art for mixed media and stuff. So I started watching Gail, and I started watching Paper Outpost, and then I found Rachel, Roxy Creations, and Tina, Shabby Dabby Doodah, and Barbara, and Louisa, and all the people. And, you know, it's just such a great, fun community of people in this artsy, junk journaly world. All right, we're going to go. See, I'm glad I didn't back these yet, because that would have been a waste of my tea-dyed paper or coffee-dyed paper. I started out, I was making coffee-dyed paper myself, or tea-dyed paper myself, but last year, at Christmas time, or, you know, or beginning of January or something, I bought a bunch, and I still have it. I haven't made as many, I don't make as many journals as I always think I'm going to, apparently. Now, I don't want these to line up. I want my edges to be either over that way or over this way. I think this way. And oh, that's right. I kind of wanted this to come out this way, didn't I? Which limits the size that I can put in there. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a tuck. So I'm just going to glue on this side and the bottom. And that way, I can put in anything of any size. So I'm trying to kind of figure out about how much at the top, how much at the bottom, line it up the best I can. And then this one is going to go here. Now that's going to block this pocket a little bit, but that's okay. Or if I don't want it to block the pocket totally, I could just glue here and on the bottom. Yes, half the time I can ignore that stomping upstairs, but sometimes it's all I can hear. And then I re-listen to my videos. I'm like, oh my goodness, why can't people sit down when I'm making a video? And this is not lined up. It's over just a little bit. I'm weird. I don't like things to line up perfectly. Just, it's more pleasing to my eye if it doesn't, I guess, is what I'm saying. So now that can maybe go in there. Or I can make it a little bit more narrow if I want to. This needs to be cut down a little bit to fit into there. And I need a piece to go in here. So I could, so like this is actually like, I have a page of backgrounds in my shop, and that's from that. And sometimes I'll do 2 to a page so I can have the pattern be smaller for collage especially. Now, you don't have to make a masterboard every time. You can make smaller pieces if that's what you want. Is this one a little bit more narrow? Oh, almost. That one's almost the right size. So let's just go ahead and trim that down. Just the tiniest bit and see where we land. Nope, not quite there. Needs to be a little bit thinner. How much thinner do you need to go? Just a little bit, I hope. So yeah, I think that's a general recap on me and my identity. So I just started writing a blog because I had to like attach a website to my AdSense, and so I was like, yeah, might as well write in this blog. So I have started a blog, and I did answer some. So if anybody has any questions about dephemerember, I can add those to my blog post about dephemerember, which hopefully I spelled right, because you know that's kind of hard to do. It's kind of a big word, and it's not in the dictionary, so it's not like it's correcting you or anything. See, if you have paper that was in your collage, you can make it a tab. It doesn't have to be a whale tail tab. I know that's out of some people's, although I guess there's a company now that has a whale tab punch that costs a lot less. So there's that. And while I really like to use this, you don't have to have one. But sometimes I do it a second time, it goes a little bit lower. I do wish that they had one that, crumbs. What did I do? I wish they had one that made a deeper thing, a deeper punch, but that's okay. If you don't have that, you could just make yourself a template with one of your gift cards or whatever. Carrie the crafter, when he did his, he figured it out and did like a 45-degree angle at a couple different places. It doesn't have to be 45-degree angles. Of course, when I made mine, wherever it is, I can never find it. This I can usually find. That's why I like it. You know, I just did random angles, but I just kind of did a shorter one and a longer one. Or you could even use your Tim Holtz tags, stencils as a template, and just kind of do that on there. You probably don't want to use one of your stencils all the time because eventually, you know, you'll be cut through it. But you can easily just take a gift card and do that the one time, and now you've got that angle to use forevermore on whatever you like. You know, you just go like this. And if you don't want to do that, you don't. I prefer the darker on the bottom. I don't know why. So, and then you just do that. Try to line it up on the ends is the best. Then you just flip it and line it up. And then, of course, if you don't want to do that, the other tried and true way that people do it is they just kind of cut their angle, and then what was here, you flip and put over here and cut that. And then you have fairly even. They're not always perfectly even, just because there's always a little bit more space on one side than the other, but that's okay. I mean, even the ones that are like, that I found that are like, there's a tag, a vintage tag that I use. I thought I would like that on there, but I actually don't. Maybe on this one. That's better, because it's not, you know, it's not so repetitive, redundant, and whatnot. Okay, and then I mentioned that sometimes I will use a stencil, which kind of brings them together, brings the, like, oh, I do need to put something right there still, don't I? Let's see, ooh, this could work, which is just a piece from, I like that. All right, we're gonna do that. Woven Dreams, Barbara, 49 Dragonflies, that's what that is from. And sometimes I do like to put like little pieces on top that are like fussy cut pieces. They kind of stand out nicely. And then I will usually edge those when I do that. You know, give them a little ink them, edge them, however you want to call it. Some people like to ink, some people don't. Roxy Creations, her reason for not liking to ink is that she uses a lot of antique vintage papers to begin with, and they are already aged and wonderful, and she does not see the need to, I think I might actually glue that side down. As long as this one is open, I can fit something in here and have it poke out like that. And that's actually kind of fun too. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I want to put something else back there that's bigger. Alright, I was going to put a feather on there, but then I did that instead. Not that I couldn't still put this little feathery leafy thing on here. Let's see what it looks like. We don't know until we try. If we don't like it, we just put some gesso on it. Oh my goodness, I just freaking had this. So I'm trying to get it on each paper, and that will bring them all together to make it kind of look like one piece. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of integrates. That's the word I think I wanted. It integrates them. So I may or may not. So this would be fine just as it is. Or it could add a little label down here. Or whatever. Or you can add a focal point. We're big on focal points in the junk journal world. Of course, if it's your own personal journal, maybe you have a photograph that you want to add to your tags. That's another way to use tags. I know there's always people that are like, well, what do you do with a journal, junk journal? Use it as a, you can use it for memories. You can use it just as a regular journal where you write things. Gratitude journal is, if I were smart, I would have put the backing on first, but I wasn't. But I don't have to. I could just put a little bit of gesso on there. Let's just do that. That's also kind of fun. Oh my goodness. And I've told you guys the secret of if you can't get the cover off, right? It's not a secret, but it's something I learned, and I'm like, everybody needs to know this. Do I have water over here? No, I do not. Now, I really don't want any of these words to show, so I probably should use a paint. Or I'll just go over it a couple times. Because it's talking about hepatitis B and viruses. It's not really something I want on my tag. So I'll go over it a few times, and if that doesn't cover it enough, I'll just take some paper and cover it with that. But if you go over it enough times, you should be able to get it thick enough. Or if you find a better paint that is more opaque. Gesso is not fully opaque. It's got some translucency to it so that you can see through it, which is good in some cases, but not necessarily when you're trying to cover up words that talk about viruses. But already you can't necessarily, well, you can still see pregnancy, future so yeah, I'll do another coat of that in a little bit. I need to find some water for that, because my poor brush is sitting in some other solution because I didn't put it in the water right away the other day. That's on me. All right, that needs to dry a minute. All right, so we have that for that pocket. Oh, is that supposed to be for this? No, I have a skinnier one for that pocket, don't I? Yep, sure I do. I'm sure that I do. It's this one. This one definitely could use something to integrate it. Oh my goodness, everybody wants me today apparently. No one wants to let me make videos. Why don't they want to just be quiet and let me make videos? Alright, I'm going to close that one up. And when I was looking for some pieces, I found some frames and some washi flowers that I think I'll put on here as decoration. Let me pause while they talk loud. Well, I kind of forgot that I needed space to go into that pocket, so I ended up cutting that, and I think I'm going to go ahead and glue this down onto the paper so that it doesn't flop around too much and then eventually get broken. So when there's not a tag in there, you can see the whole frame, and then when there is a tag in there, which, you know, make sure your tag's going to fit before you put a a tab on the top. I had to cut off the bottom a little bit, but I like how that pokes out of there. Let's see, and I still need to do my tag in there. So I've got my Tim Holtz pieces, which are fun to use in layering, as are, you know, this kind of a thing. Where's my, there it is, that's the skinny tag. And I just added that little bit of stencil on there. And we've got some dark bits on here, so I could totally use some dark bits that are in here, potentially. And you don't have to layer, you could just put on a picture, and that could be your focal point. The layering bits are totally optional, and just, you know, just for fun. You know, have fun with it, or do it or don't do it. It's, I mean, this could even just be a piece of ephemera in the pocket. Just kind of like sticking out like that. Just kind of, you can ink it up a little bit, add some stamping to it if you want, but you can still, it's a little glossy, but you can still write on the back. So that can look really cute in the pocket. And I need to find a focal point. You know, I don't think I've put a squirrel in this whole thing. I think that's what we need. Another way to do some modern meets vintage is magazines. Magazines are modern, and you can find some images in magazines to use in your junk journals. They can be used in glue books, art journals, and junk journals, memory journals, just your little, whatchamacallit, gratitude journals, Commonplace journal. A Commonplace journal is basically an old term for a junk journal, basically. It's where people would just kind of put things they like. They just glue stuff down in a journal just because they liked it. Like, I think these snails are adorable, so I'm just going to cut them out and put them on here because I just think they're cute. And that's kind of what a Commonplace journal is. You just find pictures of things you like. I think, you know, back in Victorian times, they would have found pieces in the newspaper or in advertisements, maybe if there was much print, you know, whatever they could find. They might put their ephemera in there if they had like tickets to some place that they went or whatever. And, you know, that's what junk journaling basically is. It's just a renewed Commonplace journal. So I'll finish cutting these out. Of course, you can use your journals for anything you want. A good example of someone who used to do scrapbooking, you know, the more precise kind of scrapbooking, who now does her scrapbooking as in junk journals, is Lisa of It's Only Paper. So I'll try to remember to link her in the description box. So I added a piece of washi tape here, and this is some decorative tape that I made using alcohol inks. I'll try to link that video below also. That was a fun video to make, and it was pretty popular. A lot of people liked it, you know. So hopefully you guys will too, the ones that haven't seen it yet. And if you leave your cover off your art glitter glue for too long, which I still haven't found my original bottle, this is a bottle I refilled, it will get clogged. It does not like to be open for any length of time. And some of this is going to get cut off anyway, so I don't need to worry too much about that. And I don't want to cut off his tail, but I want to keep as much of the flower as I can. I don't know how I feel about that, but that's alright. I'll go over, I'll put something across the other direction maybe. And that will, you know, break up that line. What will I put across there? Probably a label. Let me see what I can find. This one will work very, you know, well enough. It's got a similar color to what's in the washi tape. And it will break up that line. Like there. And I can even like stamp on it now if I want to. I might add a word down here. I had these words from Tim Holtz that I got at Tuesday morning, you know. Let's see, back when Tuesday morning was a thing. Sorry for all the people new to junk journaling that never got to experience Tuesday morning, especially before, when you had to, in order to find anything, you had to pretty much sort through everything that was there, because nothing was in any kind of order. But you could just spend so much time just looking at the stuff. And this is where, so let's see, collect beautiful moments. Why not? Or life is good. Let's do that. I want something that's kind of dark on the back. Life is good. Today, it mostly is. Some people might be driving me crazy. So, I'm going to put it down here because there's just like this big blank spot down here. And I am not someone that centers things. I'm just a little off center, a little off kilter. And I'm going to go ahead and take this stamp. And I found out that part of the reason I was making such a mess the other day is that the VersaFine ink does not dry quickly. So yeah, that was good to learn. Somebody else was saying they have issues with it. I'm just going to put that right there. Does it fit in the label? No. Are we worried about that? No. But it still looks kind of cool. Alright, and then we take this and wipe it off so it doesn't get on every single thing. And hope that dries quickly, because it's going in here. Alright, so let's find a topper for it so it can easily go in and out of that pocket. Ooh, I don't hate that. Is it going to cover any? It's kind of, alright, so what you do is if it's too wide, you can just, once you get it on there, you can kind of trim off the corners a little bit. Or you can go a little bit further. This one fits just perfectly, probably. Alright, that one's going on there. I love when I can find a topper first try going in there without having to do too much thinking. You know what I mean? These are just gel plate prints that extra little pieces that I use my whale tail with. You don't have to use a whale tail. You can cut a circle and just fold it in half, or just cut out a tab shape. You don't have to have all the tools. Oh, I just did that the backwards way, but that's okay. It looks fine. Because it was just like a little bit of green there that I wanted on the back, but that's alright. I mean, I could turn it around real quick, but it's not going to bother me enough to do so. That's the one thing I always put away is those things. So now, I think I want to reintroduce this tape again in somewhere else on the page, whether it, you know what, might be perfect right here. Because this will be in the pocket up there, so it won't show a lot, but you can kind of overlap that pocket just a tiny bit. Oh, why are my scissors trying to go in the pocket? That's dumb. Oh, that looks good. Okay. And then, you know, just kind of fills that spot there. I have this tiny little tag that I made some time ago that I'm thinking about just kind of sticking in here because it's just cute. I don't know if that's a little too deep. Let's see. I can make a tiny little pocket. I also thought about, well, I've got these guys, right? So I don't need to put a bird. He'd probably eat them anyway. And we like the snails. We don't want the bird to eat them. But that's one of my favorite birds, is a tufted titmouse. Not just because the word tit is in it, but that might be part of it. Oh, right there is good. And let's see, one more place maybe, because the other one doesn't show on the page. So if I do 3 on this page, it'll give us that triangle that you've heard Barbara talk about. And I'm going off of that pocket a little bit. And I wonder if I can make this like just a little pocket. I might. I'm just going to leave the backing on there and make it a little pocket. I mean, I could put it on something bigger, but I'm just gonna even come down here with it. So it looks like washi, but it's actually a tiny little pocket. All right, so got something in those two pockets, and then there we go. That's the page. Started with a masterboard, used most of the pieces. I mean, there's still some small pieces that I could do something with. But, you know, it's not the end of the world if I don't. Could just tuck them back there to be used at a future date. So here it is. And that could use maybe a little bit more of a trim. There's the tag. I backed it with some coffee dyed graph paper. I really like graph paper. You can find on my Ko-fi site, there are some free printables that have a squirrel similar to that, if not that squirrel. This one, I didn't put a focal point on it. Still looks good. Just, I did that so you could see that not everything has to have a focal point. You know, that's the whole point of that. And there we go. Because I do kind of suffer from that I must put a focal point syndrome. But you don't really have to. So that's it for today for Modern Meets Vintage. Like I said, that's what junk journals are anyway. Have a delightful day, guys. Love you. They're so cute. I did those in a triangle too. 1, 2, 3. A weird triangle. They're like that kind of a triangle.